KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's go to Dr. Lamero. Good news for America. Always great news for America with our friend Dr. Lamero. How you been?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
You know, you're always an optimist. Would that be correct to say?
That's probably true. I do have kind of an optimistic outlook on life. I love life. You know, I love what I do. I've always loved my work. And I love my numbers and my computer models and things like that. And I enjoy people. And by the way, I love being on the radio. I think it's so much fun. There are a lot of really great talk radio hosts around the country. I include you in that list of really good people. I know you're award-winning, Marconi Award. I always consider that a great honor, and you have won that. The same year Rush Limbaugh won it. I mean, you're in good company. I mean,
well,
too.
And we've got Dr. Lamero on with us. When tragedy happens, we've had this big national story here where you have a man from
the little boy who was stabbed.
Right, the 6 kids that were stabbed and the 3-year-old who has died, and you have this man from Los Angeles who'd been done time in prison, who's now accused of first-degree murder, the community getting together. Dr. Lamero, how do you put things in perspective when bad things happen to good people?
Well, you know, I think this isn't heaven. I guess I have a religious perspective. I'm Christian, to be, you know, if you want to know. And, you know, I have this perspective that life keeps getting better. That I read a book many, many years ago about life moving toward a sort of a pinnacle, like it gets better. I mean, we're doing better now than 100 years ago. There was a time when we had slavery. We don't have slavery. We may have some racism left over, but I think we're a whole lot better than that. And I look at any particular problem. I look at the economy. It's growing. You know, I see people elected a president this time who was tough. We needed somebody tough. We needed somebody to turn around some of these problems. Some people say he's too tough and too harsh. But on the other hand, I don't expect that we'd ever elect Mother Teresa or someone like that to run our country. I don't expect people to be perfect. And I think it's a terrible tragedy. I read the story when it first happened in Boise, a shock for the Boise community, of course, and I empathize in that. But on the other hand, I think that we are fixing problems, and I think that some of the immigrant problems that we're facing that upset a lot of people today are going to be fixed. Also, when I look at my numbers and I look at the country as a whole, I do the long-range computer models, the short-range models, and the dynamic models right around election time. And I see the models indicating that the people are in touch with the issues and are trying to solve them, and I think we will. And I think that's why, you know, I put out the newest book this year is More Great News for America. My website is greatnewsforamerica.com for people who want to look it up. But the new book, my newest book, has sold more than any other book I've written. And this is my 5th book, and so, you know, that makes me feel good, too. So I think in general we're all getting better. I think I'm getting to be a better writer. I think my 5th book is much better than my first book, even though I think the first book had a lot of good ideas in it. So that's kind of my outlook on life.
Well, Dr. Lamero, let's get back to the president. You predicted the president. You predicted that he would have the success. Are you surprised that you were right and so many others were wrong?
No. No. In fact, the only time I'm wrong usually is if I don't look at my own models, you know, or I said, no, that model can't possibly right, you know, and I've done that sometimes. I just don't believe that, you know, but I tend to believe my models now because that's usually the right answers. And the trends that I saw took place. I predicted in 2015 that 2016 would be a historic presidential election. It was. I have made other predictions. For example, I have a new prediction in the new book about the parties. And I think the Republican Party is going to split in two. I think it's a significant prediction. And I think that it's going to break up into a conservative party and what I call a Republican progressive party. Maybe that'll just become the progressive party. But I see it splitting in two, and most of the voters are moving toward one of those two parties or future parties. And the Democratic Party, which keeps being out of touch with the American people, people, it's becoming more and more extreme to where it's probably going to have the party itself end. Parties don't last forever. The Whig Party was very successful in the 1800s, but it's no longer around. I think the Democratic Party will shut down next year. And I think in its place, a lot of people will join either the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, and that will turn from a 501c3 into a full-blown party, or a lot of those folks like Bernie Sanders and some of the millennials and others will join the Socialist USA Party, which is a party. So I think we may see a socialist party, we may see a progressive party, and I think there's going to be a definite conservative party, which, by the way, will be the dominant party.
Dr. Lamero joining us here, but that would be much to the chagrin of the liberal media that controls the press and controls the messaging.
Well, they control their own press and their own messaging. They are being basically driven out of business. I mean, if you look at the business models, that's another model. I love my models. If you look at the business models of the press, ABC News headquarters is shutting down. They're going to tear it down and build condos there. If you look at some of the editorial rooms and that, you see that editors are being laid off, reporters are being laid off, journalists are being laid off, if you can even call them journalists, because if they don't show both sides of a story, to me, they're not a journalist, they're just opinion people. You know, they should be called opinion folks instead of journalists. So I see the old mainstream media as basically deteriorating and falling down, and in its place, talk radio has grown, and there are a lot of very good websites. If you look around on the internet, a lot of people are getting their news not from TV news anymore, but they're getting them, looking at their iPad or their cell phone, getting the news that way through various websites. So I think there's a new mainstream media that's arising. And by the way, in my history, or my study of the history of presidential elections, which I did in order to model them properly, I found that with every historic presidential election, there's also a change. This is significant. There's also a change in the mainstream media. And I think that's what we're going through now. For example, in 1828, the big mainstream media turned into the newspaper. That was a big deal in those days. And if you go to 1896, that was a historic election of McKinley. You see that the rise of the magazine, and then the big urban press, not just the little press, but the big urban press. And you look around, and at each historic election, we've had a different mainstream media. So the old mainstream media essentially is dying and
Sure.
is dying out of existence, but the new one is arising, and you're part of it. Talk radio is part of it.
Our great friend Dr. Lamero joining us here, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So how do you look at the midterms? How do you look at how this
How do you want me to look at them?
Well,
do you want me to give the results?
Number one, yes. And number two, how do you see the Supreme Court nomination playing out?
Oh, the Supreme Court, I think, looks pretty straightforward. It's looking like Trump will appoint another constitutional conservative who believes in the Constitution, interpreting it the way it was originally written. They're sometimes called originalists. And I think that person will be appointed from the list of 25. I have vetted the original list, and they were rock solid conservative, constitutional conservatives. I think that person will be appointed. There's no way the Senate's going to stop it. There's a few people that are making statements, like Senator Susan Collins, who says, well, I'm not going to vote for anybody who's against Roe v. Wade. So do you think anyone's going to go up and say, I am against Roe v. Wade under oath before the Congress? They're going to say, we don't discuss the details of cases that haven't come up yet. So nobody's going to say that. And whoever Trump picks is going to be go right through. It's going to breeze through. And that's going to happen much before November. So I think Trump will have his second conservative pick. I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg is already 85 years old. Her birthday was last March. And Stephen Breyer is going to be 80 on August 15th. So next month he'll be 80. I think both of them will retire, and that prior to the 2020 election, I think Trump will get 2 more picks. He will have 4, and overall, we're going to have, as I predicted back in 2015, that was the first time I predicted it, a conservative supermajority on the Supreme Court. That is going to change American jurisprudence dramatically.
It's going to change the country forever.
It will. And just as prior times, one of the things I found, again, is that oftentimes with the historic elections, almost every time, there's also a new Supreme Court jurisprudence. In other words, the court will turn, in different directions. For example, there was a time when it turned toward activism around World War II and that, where it got very active in certain ways. I described that, by the way, in my first book, Great News for America. And not my first book, but my previous book, I should say.
You're getting lost in your books.
Yeah, well, sometimes it seems like my first book because it's the first one that people really got into big. And that. But at any rate, regardless.
Right.
What I'm saying is there are different periods of jurisprudence where court is more this or more that. We are moving into a period where we're going to have a conservative Supreme Court, this supermajority, probably until at least the year 2050, because I went and did a couple of numbers on their ages, and I found that we typically nominate people who are, on average, 50 years old for the Supreme Court. Trump has 3 in the 40s that have high probability of being selected. That would be even lower. And typically, they work from age 50 to in their 80s. So you get about 30 years for each appointment. So we're talking right now, we're almost at 2020, and we're talking about these people are going to be in office till 2050. And, barring, something happens to them, a car accident or something terrible.
Dr. Lamero, finally, if people want to get your books, hang out with you, what can they do?
Well, they can go to greatnewsforamerica.com. It talks about the books. I have about 160 web pages, I think. Those are articles, and there's lots of free stuff on there. And they also talk about the books. You can go to Amazon. All my books are in print, and they're also on Kindle if you want to save a little money and get a Kindle version, or you love reading it, on your iPad or whatever.
Sure.
And by the way, I'm also available for speaking engagements. I've been requested for different speaking engagements. So if you have a great activity up there in Boise, somebody can invite me up. I love to see everybody and say hi. And I also do consulting. If somebody has a model they need, I'm happy to do a computer model for them or do an election for them if they're a congressman or somebody who want to know how their forecast model looks and not just their polls.
Dr. Lamero, multi-talented as ever. We so appreciate you.
Oh, I love it. Love talking to you. You have a great show, and Boise is a wonderful place.
God bless, Dr. Lamero. Take care.
God bless you, too, and everybody in Boise.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Dr. Lamero is a man of many talents. Always appreciate having Dr. Lamero on. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Wishing you a happy 4th. Want to thank our friends Joe and Tammy for reminding us this is Idaho Day, the day that Idaho became a state in 1890. Usually you correct me on that, Rehemiah, but today it's Idaho Day. How about that? Happy birthday, Gem State. Gee, I hope Joe is right. I just didn't check that. I just kind of assumed that he was right. So thank you, Joe and Tammy in Nampa. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you're just tuning in, we've been talking about the rally yesterday and taking your phone calls on Timmy Kenner, who had this to say when they said, do you understand the charges of first-degree murder and everything else against you?
I don't understand none of this, sir.
He doesn't understand.
What about the right to gather evidence?
Right. He wants to represent himself. Now, you're more than welcome to talk about that. There was another rally over the weekend where you had people getting together saying families belong together at the state capitol. Thousands of people showed up. And you had somebody come up and say, I want Paulette Jordan to speak. And all of a sudden, there's a little controversy. Let's take a listen.
Do not forget this in 2020.
Well, I don't think you're going to forget this in 2020 because I think the president's going to be reelected. So here's a young man that comes up, and he's wearing a reelect Bill Clinton and Al Gore shirt, a vintage 1996 shirt, and he just asked a question, and the millennials got a little angry with him.
I'm sorry, but this man is harassing me right now. Can you please leave?
The guy really just simply went up to her and said, hey, why not let Paulette Jordan speak? She wants families to be together. And one of them grabbed the microphone and said, you're harass. Now, how do you harass when you're having a conversation?
I wanted to hear from Paulette Jordan. That's it.
This is not a political politician rally. This is a rally about kids. All right?
Didn't they just say, remember 2020? So how could it not be about politics?
Kids are detained at the border. Please respect that. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. We put in a lot of work to.
What did Max call me, a bunny rabbit, because I'm an alarmist? This chick's getting all stressed out. Or, I'm sorry, I apologize for saying chick. I don't think you can say chick anymore. This young lady, this young female activist, is getting stressed out for what?
Get this together.
Let her talk!
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to
Play
keep
some music?
the program going, all right?
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. We're going to keep it going.
We're going to keep it going, everybody.
Because today is about families. Today is about families. Today is about children. Today is about children at the border.
All right, there we have it. Thanks to the Idaho Statesman for that. Coming up next, David Ferdinand. What's he going to talk about? First, traffic and weather together. All right, here we go to David Ferdinand to talk a little bit about Happy Idaho Day. Good morning, sir.
You, Kevin, I just got to tell you, thanks so much, man, for all your help at Garden Country Festival this year. Great job. I don't know, where did you get all that energy?
I'm still recovering from it, Brother Ferdinand.
Well, we appreciate that and looking forward to next year. Today is the day that the state of Idaho became a state in 1890 on July 3rd. We are the 43rd state. And the story is Wyoming and Idaho went out to be states on the same day. Wyoming wasn't quite ready when the president's wife wanted to leave that Potomac heat for a couple of days over the 4th of July. And so Idaho was ready. We walked in. There is one 43-star flag because that became 44 states just a few days later. So there's your story about the Idaho Statehood Day. And if you don't believe me, ask Larry Gebert. Man, he's got it all down. He knows where that 43-star flag is.
Well, Larry Gebert or probably our friend David Leroy.
Well, David would know too, probably.
That's
would. For sure.
Boy,
yeah.
Proud to be in Idaho. And
happy Statehood Day, Kevin, and KIDO.
Well, you staying out of trouble?
Well, we're having meetings, getting ready for next year, as you know, and for it starts immediately. Actually, it starts before we actually produce it. But Kevin, you did a great job, and really appreciate. Like I say, you were energized, even doing the wrap up, the post fireworks. I couldn't believe it.
Yes, the exclusive, never heard before post fireworks show off the radio.
Well, there will be probably fireworks tonight in honor of Statehood Day, and of course the Independence Day celebrations tomorrow. We are a blessed nation, a blessed community, and of course continuing to pray for all those families that have had some mishaps this week with the interesting folks that want to come to Idaho and bring craziness. Man, it's not good. But we appreciate you and appreciate the fact that we can celebrate the Statehood Day today.
David Ferdinand, you take care, brother.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, our great friend David Ferdinand. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And before we get to more of your phone calls, tomorrow is going to be a rough day. Joining us now, a veterinarian from Chagrin Falls, Ohio, Dr. Carol Osborne. Talk a little bit about pet safety and fireworks. Isn't that outside of Cleveland, or is that outside of Youngstown, Chagrin Falls?
Chagrin Falls is actually just outside of Cleveland, about 30 minutes east, Kevin.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's been a while since I've had my Ohio geography, sir. So good to have you with us here. Boy, what a terrible time it is tomorrow for pets. And, my little dog, Carolina, does not like the fireworks.
Well, most dogs and cats don't enjoy fireworks. Their ears are so much more sensitive than ours. And that's why leaving your pet at home, closing the windows, turning on some soft, maybe classical music, even putting little cotton balls in their ears helps them to get through all the loud noise and fireworks.
What I don't understand is, here in Idaho, we love pets and we love our dogs, and specifically our dogs, where people leave their dogs out, and then we have so many dogs that are loose. The Humane Society has this warning every year, and people still do it. Shouldn't we just bring our pets in as much as possible and try and make sure they're safe and they don't go crazy and jump the fence?
You're absolutely right, Kevin. In fact, more pets get lost on the 4th of July than any other holiday all year long. So make sure your pets have well-fitting collars, up-to-date ID tags, and yes, keep them inside. Today, in addition to permanently identifying your pet with a collar or a microchip, we've got pet Amber Alerts. We've even got, cell phones equipped with the pet GPSs that, hook right up to your pet's collar.
When we're taking a look at what else we can do, any other thoughts?
Absolutely. Remember, barbecues are tantalizing, but try to keep your pet's meals and snacks as close to possible as normal. Help avoid upset tummies, vomiting, diarrhea, and, of course, those emergency room visits that we can all live without. Remember to safeguard beer, wine, and alcohol. They're really not good for your pets. It causes poisoning. Remember, for all you boaters out there, that not all dogs can swim, so get yourself a canine life jacket and make sure, once again, you don't leave your pet alone at home or alone on the beach or in the water.
Yeah, Dr. Osborne, you have to be pretty much a dope to leave your pet out during the fireworks, don't you?
Well, it's probably a bad move. Bringing your pet inside, creating a safe haven for your dog or cat. A little bed or a carrier with a favorite blanket and toy, so they have a place to retreat from the noise and the festivities when they've had enough.
Any other thoughts, Dr. Osborne, on what we can do? And, why do the dogs go crazy or the pets go crazy? Is it the noise?
Well, it's noise, it's anxiety, all those kinds of things are upsetting to pets. We've got some natural homeopathic calming remedies that many of your pet-loving listeners might be able to take advantage of. Box Rescue Remedy available right over the counter. A few drops can be rubbed on the inside of your dog or cat's ear. That's actually an acupressure puncture point. Skullcap is an herb available in health food stores that can be safely given. And remember, some of these essential oils, combinations of chamomile and blue cypress, along with lavender, which can be diffused, are very safe and very calming. In addition to which, remember, July is usually one of the hottest months of the year. Once again, dogs don't sweat. So keep that in mind and make sure you help your pet not to get overheated. Don't leave them alone in a car and things like that.
Yeah, again, that's another dopey thing. People leave their pets in the car, and unfortunately, it can cost your pet your life. I don't get the appeal of driving around with my pet either.
Well, I think pet owners love to spend all the time they can with their pets, but sometimes they just overlook certain things that you and I might think are obvious. In a parked car on a warm day, let's say it's 80 outside, well, within 15 minutes, it can be 120 in your car. So that's a big no-no. And as far as sunscreen, they've got pet sunscreen for pets, but avoid human sunscreen, especially zinc oxide, because it's toxic. DEET, a common insecticide that many people may use, also not a great idea for pets.
All right, Dr. Osborne, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
Absolutely. We are the ChagrinFallsPetClinic.com. If you'd like to visit us online, we are in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. Our toll-free phone is 1-866-Dr. That's 866-372-2765. We're about 30 minutes east of Cleveland, and we welcome calls and visitors from all across the country. So if there's anything we can do to help your pets, just give us a ring.
Dr. Osborne, take care.
Thank you, Kevin, and happy 4th of July.
All right, happy 4th of July. Dr. Osborne's from Ohio, Chagrin Falls, Ohio, where all good things come from. At least that's what I'm saying. Joining us now, Tea Party Bob. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. I've been listening to you for the whole show here, and I have a few comments, if I might make them.
What is this, like your timed rebuttal? Is this... Do you remember 60 Minutes where Andy Rudy would come on? Are you like the Andy Rudy of this show? And now I've got a few things to say.
I never get 60 minutes. That's the unfortunate part.
Well, you get 60 seconds. Boy, what'd you make of Dr. Osborne there?
I like Dr. Osborne. I think he's got the right attitude. We need more of him around.
Okay.
In many ways, we only have ourselves to blame for these terrible tragedies that take place, like the stabbings in Boise. This man doesn't even think he had anything that he did wrong, and is probably mentally ill. We have so many people walking around with debilitating mental illness problems, and we don't have the means to take care of them. Can you name one facility in Idaho for mental illness? I noticed nothing coming out of your mouth, so I presume you don't know of any.
I didn't know this was Ask Kevin Miller. We could start that show if you'd like, or do you want to make your statement, or is this like ask a question and then I'll answer? I mean, I was called a bunny last hour, so please go ahead.
Be careful I don't call you a chicken.
What is this, like, beat up the host day?
We love the host. He's a great guy.
Sure.
We've got so many overcrowded prisons. They lend themselves to recidivism instead of rehabilitation. And those people that we lock up for crimes, we don't take the time to invest the funds or the necessary time to bring them back into society as productive citizens. Right now, the governor is trying to figure out how to solve the problem of overcrowding of our prisons. And the only solution he's been able to come up with is to ship them to another state, pay someone else to take care of them, where they wind up in another overcrowded prison system that's worse than where they were transferred from. 1 in 5 Americans each year are diagnosed with one form or another of mental illness. That means 42 million Americans, 18.2%, suffer from the disease. And for somewhat reason, we don't pay any attention to this serious problem. In many cases, we only make it worse by prescribing antidepressant drugs, which in many cases make these people do things they shouldn't be doing. It's time we address these two problems in a realistic way and put the necessary funding into fixing the problem. We waste billions of dollars on worthless projects in this country, including immigration, that do nothing to help the citizens who pay the taxes, and it's time we turn the tables. Let's fund some mental hospitals. Let's try to remedy the problem with the prisons and take care of these sick citizens. Governor Otter and the legislature.
Wait a minute. Are you still going on?
Almost done.
Man, this is a long one today.
I need to finish this. Governor Otter.
Well, hold on. Whoa. I understand that, but we've got to have a little break from the reading of the list.
Yeah, well, this is a list that needs to be taken care of. You know it as well
Max
as I do.
agrees with me in the background.
Max is growling at whoever's coming to the front door. God forbid they open it. You know what that's like yourself. Governor Otter and the legislature are responsible for allowing these prisons to become overcrowded. They even gave it to Corrections Corp of America, which they had the gladiator fights and they scammed the state out of millions with overtime fee pay. They kept people on parole long past their time. I mean, this is what happens when you have too much bureaucracy running these things. We put these inmates in prison, and we need to be responsible for their care and rehabilitation. So, Governor, let's get busy. Start figuring out how we're going to raise the funds to build a new prison. Do the right thing, and not just for the inmates, but for the people of Idaho. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry it took so long.
We need to start having trade for advertising on the Gem State Patriot if it's going to be like this.
You're going to get plenty of it. Don't worry about it.
I think your dog Max was saying rap.
No, Max he was barking at Otter. He must have went by in his truck. Anyway, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Miller. I really enjoy listening to your show, and I enjoy having an opportunity to have my say.
I enjoy getting backslapped. Thank you.
Well,
it's everything for the show.
In a while, we all need a good slap in the face.
Exactly, sir.
You have a wonderful day, my friend.
You
Stay
too.
Cool.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Either you thought that segment was really good or you thought that segment was really bad. Joining us now, Mike Tracy, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mike.
Happy Idaho Day. How you doing, Kevin?
Happy Idaho Day. Good morning.
Hey, I saw a great interview this morning, or not interview, but a video piece on Fox News, and it was interesting. Scott Pruitt, who was on your air recently, the EPA director, was in a restaurant being verbally attacked by a young woman who was holding her young son, attacking him, telling him essentially he was a criminal to the environment. He didn't believe in global warming, so he should resign. And he was essentially a villain and a criminal to the environment. And just an interesting series of verbal attacks on the man. He sat there calmly. He got up and left eventually, is what the reporting said. And, you know, it's really interesting. I think Pruitt's done a great job in reducing regulation. And, you know, the Environmental Protection Agency is not even needed. And it's not – the Constitution doesn't have anywhere in it that says we should have or authorizes an EPA. And, you know, it could easily be done away with, and that would really upset my environmental friends out there. But, you know, we do a pretty good job of taking care of the environment, and the EPA has done really nothing other than, as Tea Party Bob always likes to talk about, create a lot of bureaucracy that has stopped business from moving forward and doing anything with the business, and especially with farmers and ranchers, the timber industry, the mining industry in Idaho, and even outfitters and guides and people who want to do just basic recreation out in across Idaho's really beautiful lands. The EPA is just essentially a roadblock for business and fun, and that's all they've been for the last 30 or 40 years.
Well, it is concerning that you have people being attacked when they're trying to have a meal.
It is, and you know, there's a Washington Post columnist that just said Sarah Huckabee Sanders deserves to be abused and verbally abused and attacked. She doesn't deserve to have any comfort. She deserves to be abused on an ongoing basis as long as she defends Donald Trump. Wow. And that was another piece I saw this morning. It's just unbelievable, the lack of civility anywhere out there from a lot of our liberal and some of the more radical Democrats out there. You know, I have a lot of friends who are Democrats and liberals that don't act like that, and they're pretty frustrated with it. And you know, you're seeing more and more Democrats pull back, and even some that are saying, you know, I'm not going to be a Democrat anymore, and or I'm just going to stay neutral and just get out of politics because they can't stand the incivility anymore.
Well, and that's their goal.
It is, but I don't think it's their goal to lose their Democrat colleagues.
Sure.
You know, if anything, I think that all they're doing with the Donald Trump base and the conservative base and the Republican base is strengthening that base. And I think the Democrats that are in leadership in Washington, D.C. have miscalculated. And that's why you're starting to see a battle between Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters. She essentially told him to get lost a day or so ago, and said he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't understand how to rally the troops, and just told him to keep to himself.
Mike Tracy, happy Idaho Day and happy Independence Day.
Happy Idaho Day, happy 4th of July, and hey, thanks for the service that all of our first responders have given us, and also all of our military personnel out there. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Mike. Take care.
You bet.
Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Tess and Tony are next with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And let's go back to the phones. Tony and Kuna, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, how you doing? I was just going to make this really quick. I don't know since when we call a mental illness the glorified rap gang member drug dealer life. It's not a mental illness. It's something that's created by like rap music and the supposed thug life and everything. I don't know when that's going to be handled too.
Anything else?
No, it's probably about the same thing with the video games with these kids and kids shooting up stuff.
Well, they're devaluing life, yeah.
Yeah, you know, these rappers here and glorify killing people and selling drugs and being a thug, and what do you think the inner city youth is going to be like?
Well,
That's all I gotta say.
All right, Tony, thank you. It comes down to, what is the solution on that? And that's what we've been trying to work out this morning. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
I don't understand none of this, sir.
That is Timmy Kenner, the person charged with murder, first-degree murder, in the assault, the slashings, the attack on those innocent little children.
I have to write together evidence.
He says he doesn't understand why he's being held and that he has a right to gather evidence.
What about the right to gather evidence?
Your reaction, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Tess in Boise with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tess.
Good morning. Oh, I had a great time. I went to that rally, and it was very interesting. I would dispute what the speaker said, who also said she was from California, as were a lot of those people that were involved in that organization that was there called POTR. And they were also from California, a couple of them out of Texas. But it most certainly was a political arena there. They had a stack of signs they were giving out to people, and those were anti-Trump signs, impeachment signs, illegals can't be illegal on stolen land, Republicans are enemies of the state. So I beg to differ with them. I just want to say, for them to try to hijack what's happened here with this horrible tragedy, what a despicable group. So buyer beware, be cautious of who you want to donate money to. They're affiliated with about 7 other organizations. And there were a lot of people that were there that were wandering through the area who did not know what was going on because of the amount of other events that they had. And so as for, you always got to know when to pick your fight. And you got to know what's the right kind of fight. And so I would say it's time to maybe check these people out a little bit better, since they want to pick a fight with Idaho, and that was pretty apparent.
This was the rally on Saturday. This
Pardon?
was the rally on Saturday.
The rally on Saturday, right, because there were several individuals there who openly said, we're here to pick a fight. And I'm not quite sure what kind of fight they want to pick.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway,
they were looking to antagonize it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the signs that they were giving people to hold were meant to antagonize. And as I had mentioned, the majority of them had all come out of California. So they definitely have an agenda, and I think it's called money. So it's called money. Anyway.
Well, thanks for being our reporter on the scene.
Yeah, you bet. And as for this individual, thank goodness Idaho has a death penalty. He needs it.
Tess, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. And Kevin Miller in the morning, again, wishing you a happy Idaho Day. And we do appreciate everybody joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio. Tomorrow will be the best of Miller, then we'll be back Thursday and Friday. Thank you, Ray Amaya, for your outstanding job as always. And we always appreciate everyone joining us. And again, today is a day we thank God for our great country. We thank God for so many blessings, and we pray for all those people. And we thank the people that have made America great, our veterans, our founding fathers, our first responders. May God bless you and keep you. Keep the faith, everybody.